change, I began to apply a lot of restrictions to myself. The biggest one being, when is a personal story too personal? Eventually I came to accept that if I really wanted to present this speech to you in the way I'd imagined, I was going to have to step outside of my comfort zone and be a little more open than I had originally intended. And I realized that the best thing I can offer all of you is simply my honesty. And that's because for understanding to be accomplished, we have to have something to relate to. And I hope that all of you can relate to me in some way. When I was 12 years old, I was diagnosed with depression. And at the time, I didn't really know what it meant. I didn't understand that I was sick, but I was. And I spent the next several years in and out of therapy and on and off of antidepressants. But nothing was changing. I wasn't getting any better. I watched my grades crumble. I watched as I destroyed relationships with people I cared about. And I watched as I found myself in a dark place, a place so dark that I wasn't sure I'd be standing here with all of you today. It wasn't until my sophomore year that I decided I was going to get treatment and I was going to get better. And I dedicated a day out of my week to going to therapy. And it was then, when I got treatment and I was ready for it, and I understood that I had a problem and that I was sick, that I finally started to change. But not everybody has this realization. Not everybody can accept that they are sick and they need help. So for those people who can't yet do it themselves, we need to start treating depression like it is a serious medical illness. However, I know there are people in society who would tell you that these people with depression, people like me, that they would have you believe that it's simply a sadness that people feel and that they bring it upon themselves. If they got out more, if they were more involved, that they would be okay. But that's not the reality, because according to an article from The Guardian, it shows that as a side effect of depression, there's a part of the brain that actually shrinks. And this part of the brain controls emotion and memory. So that's to say that potentially me, someone who's had depression, is more likely to have a smaller portion of the brain than someone like, say, Sierra. Also, studies show that the frontal lobe is less active in those who have had depression. And while these are all things that we can't see physically, there are things that we can witness as they suffer and as they become more ill, such as withdrawing from people that they care about, or losing interest in something that they used to love. And I know that we probably all have some kind of image in our mind about what depression looks like, what it is, who it affects. But the truth is it can affect anyone. It could affect any of you, or someone you know and love. Depression isn't being sad when a favorite character dies. Depression isn't the disappointment you feel if you lose an important game. Depression is misery, and it is self-hatred. But above all, it is a mental illness. It is a sickness that needs treatment for recovery to be achieved. And I could stand up here all day and tell you what depression is, and what it isn't, and what we can do to make this better, and several other things. But I found a quote that I think sums it up pretty well. And I'm going to leave you with this quote. Depression is such a cruel punishment. There are no fevers, no rashes, no blood tests to send people scurrying in concern, just the slow erosion of self. As insidious as cancer, and like cancer, it is essentially a solitary experience, a room in hell with only your name on the door.
So do you think we need to, are there enough therapy places to treat these people that have this illness?
There's actually a shortage of psychiatrists in several states, and I've read in cases where people actually have to leave their state for their kids to go get treatment. So, no.
You think if depression was seen as a mental illness, that there maybe would be more people going into that field, able to treat it, or?
Yes and no, because there are so many people who have it that don't see it that way, and they don't realize that they need treatment to feel normal again.
Do you think if it was seen as an illness that people would begin to seek treatment because they would think that they are ill?
Definitely.
When you say you went for treatment for your depression, were you able to go somewhere local, or did you have to go somewhere further in distance?
The first 4 times I was in Greensburg, Batesville, and then Connersville, but the last time that I went, and when I finally started to see a change, I had to go into Cincinnati to Children's.